There's a theologian of the 16th century whose name was John Calvin, and he didn't live very long as far as years of life, but he was prolific in the amount of theology and mystical spirituality that he wrote about. And in his greatest compilation of his theology, he wrote two massive books. And the first book is Knowledge of God, and the second book is Knowledge of Self, and he goes through all kinds of doctrines. And at one point, he talks about how knowledge of self grows our knowledge of God. And the more knowledge we gain about God, the more we know about the self. Laura essentially leads us in the same direction by beginning in chapter 1 with Psalm 139, where knowledge of God and knowledge of self are married together. They embrace. And this brings about incredible purpose and knowledge for us to be able to take in and to live out of. This book and this message today, I think, comes at a critical time where we're in another election year. Yippee, right? All the stuff that brings to us, and not much of it good. And then we've experienced COVID-19 and all of its losses, and still experiencing losses from that, and the difficulties of restarting and reopening and what that looks like. And then we're even talking now anticipation of what does a second wave look like. And then this past week, we've just had incredible turmoil and unrest because of the death of this African-American man in an engagement with some police officers in Minnesota. And all of this, like, wrapped up together right now at this time, we really do need to have a secure foundation of a knowledge of God, who He is, and a knowledge of ourselves, so that we can react and we can engage appropriately in response. There's a battle going on today for the hearts and minds of people, of human beings. And more than ever, it's just important to have a solid knowledge of God and knowledge of self, that we know who and whose we are. And I love where Laura begins her book with a quote from Jamie Smith. "I am one in whom Christ dwells and delights. I live in the strong and unshakable kingdom of God. The kingdom of God is not in trouble, and neither am I." And in order to understand this and embrace it and grasp it, we have to have a solid and foundational knowledge of God, of truth about God, and a solid foundational truth of a knowledge of self. And let's not waste another month being a casualty of our culture. Let's not waste another hour not understanding the truths of God, who the true God is, and how that applies to who our true self is in God. Let's not waste another minute or second of our life living outside of the person of Jesus Christ. So this book by Laura this summer gives us the opportunity to engage God in knowing Him and also knowing our true self. And so every week, after a short teaching, there will be exercises that we are invited to engage in. Like this week, you'll be invited to every day read through Psalm 139 for 6 days in a row, and then be able to reflect on your experience with that. Another day, just a suggestion for an exercise, to sit a chair across from you and pretend that Jesus is right there in His person. Of course, He's here in our spirit, but to imagine Him being there in His person And he asks you, so tell me about yourself. And then actually out loud begin to do that and talk to Jesus about yourself and then reflect on that experience. How does it feel to be known by God? Another day you'll be invited to simply just rewrite Psalm 139 in your own words as you understand it and experience it. Another day you'll be invited to simply read Psalm 139 in front of a mirror while speaking the psalm to yourself and looking to yourself as the words are being spoken, and then reflect on that experience. So, as with just about anything, you will only get out of the experience what you put into it. You will only get out of a good relationship with another person what you put into it. The same is true for this and this journey through Laura's book through the summer, that we will only grow in our knowledge of God and knowledge of self and how that leads us into a purposeful living. It's going to be correlate with how much we engage. And so I invite you, Laura invites all of us to engage in the exercises each week and to go a little bit deeper, to step out of your comfort zone, to engage in it. And let's do this together as a big grand experiment for the summer. And when we get together for discussions and downloads, or we get together with smaller groups within the church to discuss the week, that we will have some good things to be able to share with one another. So this is where we begin this journey, engaged in the themes of Laura's book. You are known and loved by God. Oh my Lord, you search and you know me. You know when I sit, you know when I rise. You know what I think, you know where I'm going. Nothing, oh Lord, can hide from your eyes. You close me in, behind and before me. You shield me with your mighty hand. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too much for me to understand. Oh, where can I go to flee from your spirit and from your presence? Where can I hide? Behold, up in heaven, you're there beside me. In the depths of the darkness, you're by my side. And if I rise on the wings of the morning, or settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me, for your right hand is holding me. And if I say the darkness will hide me, the night will shine as bright as day. So search me, Lord, and lovingly lead me.